It is, boy, we are episode 5 of 6. Spoilers for episode 5 of Secret Invasion. It just keeps going. Time keeps on slipping. We're still doing it. And, it's doing those things that the end of a movie or show would do. Characters are getting guns, they're putting on their costumes, and they're saying, let's go to work and stuff like that. But the rest of it wasn't that interesting or cohesive, so it doesn't work quite as well as you'd hope. It's a little frustrating because on one hand, this is a show where at one point, again, spoilers for season 1 of Secret Invasion, episode 5, season 1, episode 5. At one point, Nick Fury says, Rhodey's a Skrull. How can I fully dislike a show that says that? First of all, I have a special connection to that. But second, that's just a fun line. And that, as a line that can be said in a show, great. But also, everything else about the show, I don't really like as much. It is so weird. My biggest gripe with the show, and it will continue to baffle me, is that we are 5 out of 6 episodes in. People have said, Fury abandoned us. Fury didn't try to help us find our own planet. Fury did X, Y, and Z, and I hate him for it. It feels like Gravik really has this personal connection to Fury. Talos has brought this issue up as well, and I really figured by now Nick Fury would say anything about that. He would just go, I'm sorry I didn't find you a home. I was using you as spies. Or, I was trying to find you a home, but no one would take you, and I was using Earth as your temporary home. Or, too much Avengers stuff was happening and I got distracted. I'm sorry. Anything. Just anything so I can understand the morality of these characters. Because in the beginning, what Gravik is saying about not finding a home and wanting a home, what Guy is saying about that, what Talos is saying about that, I'm like, yeah, they've got a point. It's like all these goddamn Marvel villains in these shows, they have a point. And oh boy, at a certain point, they will cross the line for no reason except for that the show is almost over so that they can be the bad guy without ever resolving this point. And boy, Gravik got the note. Gravik looked at his script and his first line was villainously, Gravik threatens everyone in the room. And it's like, that's what he's going to do. I think that what this show has, but this show has so much potential. Watching it, knowing what Secret Invasion could be, but understanding that that's not what the show ever was going to be, right? The show is not going to be Iron Man and Captain America, fighting and Captain America's a Skrull. We're not doing that. But then when they say what it is, well, it's a spy thriller. And it's also kind of about these refugees and stuff. You go, well, that is the show. And I see how the Skrulls can be vehicles for a story like that. And you'd figure if that was the story we were telling, by the end of episode 5, we would have characters that are actively trying to figure this out. But also, apparently it's on the news and nobody cares. I mean, people are a little bit, and if you were in this universe, you'd be like, oh, cool, a green thing, interesting. Is that the green thing, the Hulk, or the Hulk's sister, or Gamora, or Drax, or whatever? We got a bazillion green guys running around, so I assume this is one of their friends or something. It's also wild that I saw this thing during, I went to Oppenheimer and then saw this. And this movie is also about, they're going to do World War III. And it's dude, this should be so much more tense. These guys just did a 3-hour-long World War III movie, and it's insane. I will say, too, because I'm talking about reviews, this is the first one of these I've done since then, I think. This is post-SAG and WGA, obviously, as well. WGA strike. So they have struck, and they're not working on projects anymore. And there was a little bit of confusion earlier in the week about what that meant for people like me that are doing analysis of movies and TV shows and stuff like that. We looked at some somewhat confusing information. A lot of people got worried, and there was a lot of discourse online. I will say, obviously I'm doing this, so I don't believe this counts as breaking the picket line or anything like that. And I believe that mostly because that's what they ended up saying. That's what SAG said, is stuff like this is not breaking the picket line or anything like that. And especially as long as I'm not getting paid by the studio, which I don't know how, we're 5 minutes into this video and I've said a lot of things that I don't think Marvel would pay me for anymore, but I am not paid by the studio for these. And I think that still covering this is interesting. It's good. This is work that people worked hard on, actors, writers, and there's some good stuff in here. The fight choreography this week was good. The special effects, I think, have been really solid. I think the scroll effects have been pretty excellent. And I think the performance, that's the thing that kills me about the show. The performances are all pretty good. I like watching Fury just talk about some mural in a wall. I like watching Gaia and the Nick Fury's wife, whose character's name I cannot remember, like doing a funeral. I think that's really compelling. The problem is the themes and the world tying this show together just don't work. And by the world, I mean like this section of the world that it is, this political spy kind of Rhodey and Maria Hill for as long as she was on it, Sonya, Nick Fury, obviously, and, you know, all their friends. I just don't think that works. But I will say I support the striking writers and actors. So far, every request they've made as part of this strike and these negotiations has been super reasonable. And everything that the studios have given them back is Gravik episode 5 level evil. So I think we know who the good guy is here. I think if this show didn't try to be this espionage thriller, it could work. What I mean is try to be this smart espionage thriller. Like if this was just an action show, kind of like if this was They Live but for Marvel, this could be fun. This could be a lot of fun. In fact, like I do think the more I look at it, the more I just think every main character besides Nick Fury should be the main character. Like everybody in here, Fury's wife, Gaia, Sonya, any of them could be the main character in the show. Would be as compelling. Obviously Talos, but he's dead now. I think there's certain things the characters have not done yet that blows my mind. Like I said, it is bizarre to me that no character is just trying to figure out a way to prove who is and who is not a Skrull. And what I mean is not just that they're trying to figure out a little scanner they use to scan your blood or whatever, although like Sonya kind of figured out this week shooting guys and then they turn into Skrulls. She's like, see, Skrull everybody, that one's a Skrull, we're cool. And everybody's like, yes. And I'm like, okay, we'll just keep doing that then, because this rules, this is good. There's a moment in this episode where Nick Fury has Rhodey cornered, and Rhodey pretty much says, like, you can't prove I'm a Skrull. And I'm like, I think you can, Nick. Shoot his finger off or something. You know he's a Skrull, right? Like, you 100% know. There's no doubt in your mind. Then prove it. It's so easy to do. That part of it just that doesn't work for me. And that not working for me means the spy thriller part doesn't work for me. For instance, for a little kind of moment, Gravik has just killed Talos and he beat up the president or whatever happened there. Fury manages to get the president to the hospital. The president is like not conscious, but Nick Fury's still talking to him and he gives him a warning. And the warning is don't trust Rhodey. And I'm like, we're past that, dude. Don't trust anybody. That's what we should be telling every character on this show. Don't trust anybody, including me. Like, come up with a secret handshake or something. Just do something. Every character in this show completely takes for granted the fact that everyone they're talking to is who they think they are. And obviously, like, the Rhodey Skrull is a Skrull Rhodey. And there was that one moment where Gravik turned into Nick Fury and shot Maria Hill. But like everything since then, we didn't have a scene where Sonya is Sonya and we know she's Sonya. And then another scene later when Nick Fury tells Sonya something and then Sonya leaves and then Nick Fury gets a call from Sonya and she's like, by the way, I'm almost there. And Nick Fury's like, oh no, that was the Skrull. Like that hasn't happened yet, which I just don't understand because that's what a spy thriller is. Like every espionage thriller in any story has this idea of like, I don't know who I can trust. And you don't have to be aliens. You just have to have people and go, some of them are spies. And then you're like, ooh, which one of them are spies? But with this, you have this added element of like ones that you knew were not spies might be spies. If you take your eyes off them, you don't know what you're getting. And we haven't done that at all. It's so infuriating because that is cool. Like that is how you do a show like this. Oh yeah. At one point, Nick Rhodey says that everybody's going to hate Nick Fury because he shot Maria Hill. Again, Nick Fury. And this is the same issue I have with him not making his case for why he didn't find the Skrulls a planet. You're Nick Fury. If people know who you and Maria Hill are, like if you are public figures enough that can happen and people go, oh, Nick Fury, I thought he was a cool guy, but apparently he's bad. Plead your case, dude. Go on Twitter and just explain it to people. Like, hey, they're Skrulls. You know how you just found out about that on the news? Like, and if we in the world saw the news report with they're shape-shifting aliens, and then the next news report was also someone that we trusted, something very out of character, I think you got a pretty good case, Nick. You got to stick up for yourself a little bit here because you're not even trying. You're just feeling sad. And I get it. It's been tough since the blip. Also, it's so weird now that I'm looking at it. Like there's so many things about the show that I'm like, why didn't they do it like this instead? Why didn't the wife show up out of nowhere? Like that, I feel like, is how you would do this, right? Instead of Nick Fury going back to the wife comes in and says, Nick, I see you need help. And Nick Fury in that moment was like, very convenient that you're here. And just like, no, I'm not doing Skrull stuff. I'm just here to help you, Nick Fury. And Nick Fury's like, I don't know about that. And then maybe Gaia's like, I saw someone like her speaking with Gravik before. And then he's like, ooh, who would I trust? I don't know if I can trust any of them. And just like that has to happen. But instead, everything is so matter of fact. Like even the Fury is, married to a Skrull thing. We found out immediately there was no tension there. Then she immediately goes and does bad guy stuff. No tension. It's just like we as an audience have way too much information and our main characters have none and they don't care. I do think, like I said, Olivia Colman should have been the main character of this show. She's one of the 3 people that should be the main characters of this show. Only because it's just fun to watch her. And that is, again, what Marvel is good at, is she's written in a very strange way where she's very chipper and she's a little silly and she doesn't murder and it's good. But also a specific line that Sonia said that I loved is Sonia mentioned cake or death. Now she said it with so much like sincerity that I'm almost like, I just assume that came from that Eddie Izzard bit. Is that a real thing people say? But it's like, no, I think that she referenced Eddie Izzard, which means Eddie Izzard exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Very good. I think that her bit is fun, but also it's too late for this. It's too late for me to care about her. Like, again, if we had a scene of her every week doing an interrogation or something and we're like, what's she doing? What's her deal? But at this point, it's just like, I don't know, she's probably a good guy because we don't have time for her to be a Skrull, and it wouldn't be interesting if she was. Like, everybody can't be a Skrull. She could be a Kree, she could be a secret Skrull, but also that's not that interesting either. Also, this plot line of like the Avengers DNA all being in a little thing, weird. Like, again, Nick Fury, characters are saying like, why don't you call the Avengers? And in the beginning, Nick Fury seems like, well, we can't call them because also then Gravik will steal their powers. And I'm like, that's a good reason. And then later, he doesn't say that as much. He more or less says, this is my fight. I gotta solve this problem. And I'm like, all right, well, I get it. That's what the show is, so sure. And now it's definitely like, I don't want them to know I have their blood. So we gotta wrap this up before they find out that I stole their blood. And I think that is a way funnier reason. And I kind of wish the show said that. Just at some point, Carol comes back and Nick Fury's like, oh, Carol, thank God you came. She's like, yeah, why didn't you call me? He's like, this was my fight. And he like slides the little blood vial behind his back. What's behind your back, Fury? Nothing. This is just my fight, so I can't even let you guys get involved. Go back up to space real quick. Just let me go back to Finland or wherever I put this in one of my fancy little secret bunker things that's a bunch of gravestones, I guess, which cool. Like that. I like it. I like that he has a little like room, like it's a little case that holds a little case that has the eye patch in it. Like, I think all that stuff is cool. If this show was this the whole time, it'd be good. I would like it. I would tell other people to watch it, but it's full of mixed messages. It's full of this really weird, it gets weirder by the day. Like every episode makes it more complicated. Really, really weird metaphor for, racism and also, conspiracy theories and also immigration, anti-immigrant like sentiment. And it's just too much. And I feel like maybe with these Skrulls, we have to simplify it a little bit. Like take a very specific group of people or like a very specific individual like issue, right? Like immigration, whatever, something like that. And then just say like, this is what it is and nail that down. But instead it's everything. And I think if the show wasn't called Secret Invasion, you could do that. You'd say it's just about these Skrulls trying to blend in. We have 3. We have Talos, who's like, we have to blend in and hide ourselves and be friends and be very nice and they'll like us. And then you have Gravik, who's like, no, we have to be bad. And then in the middle, you have Gaia, who's like, we need to do something else, but not those 2 things. And I'm just like, that would be cool. But then instead, we have this, it's mostly about this evil guy who's doing evil guy stuff. And then Talos, who's nice. And Nick Fury, who's just kind of tired of all of it. And it just, I don't know, the energy doesn't work. Also, Gravik this episode, very bad, right? Well, it seems like they went, we're not going to make a very compelling Marvel villain. Like by episode 4, they kind of knew like the writing. They were like, I think we kind of lost this guy. So let's try to get at the top of those other lists for most one-dimensional Marvel villain, because not only have we not even kind of gotten into his backstory, which would be the only thing that would help this character be interesting, he has also gone to the step of just killing his own guys for no reason because he's mad at them, and it doesn't work, and he's gonna kill more of his own guys. And even Rhodey, who is a Skrull, is like, I don't really know what Gravik's whole deal is anymore. I've lost the thread of his character too, and I'm also a bad guy, and it still doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I mean, listen, all in all, like I can't fully hate the show because I still find it mostly entertaining. I still like watching them. I like watching these characters. It's a well enough made show. However, it is frustrating because there are so many things it could be doing. So many, plot lines and themes and things that it could explore. And instead, it just feels like it's jumping around everywhere. One of the things that I thought was so weird in this episode is there's a conversation between Fury on the phone with Gravik. And I don't know if anyone caught on to this, but not a lot of words were spoken out of mouths on screen. And it's kind of like, I can see, I don't want to say, I feel like, there's an impulse whenever something is written in a way that doesn't quite fit together to say like, oh, this was reshot and this was reshot and these two things were taped together. I feel like the best example of that in the MCU, one of the best examples, I guess, is the clandestines in Miss Marvel, which now we're finding out was very rewritten and a lot of like things were changed, and you can feel it in the show. It's got very different tones, a little bit disjointed. Not that Miss Marvel's anywhere near this, but like with a show like this, it is just so all over the place that I'm surprised there's not more scenes like this where two characters just get on the phone, you look at the back of their heads while they explain the plot to each other, because like that scene was pretty funny. I don't know, we're almost done. This will be the last piece of Marvel content for 3 months until Loki and Marvels, and I'm gonna make a video. I have an Nando cut video that I'm just trimming down right now about like, I don't think Marvel needs to take their foot off the gas in terms of like quality, quantity. I've heard Iger say things like, oh, we're making too much stuff, we gotta scale back. I don't think that's it. Things you make are too expensive. They don't need to be as expensive as they are. And also, like, maybe the shows aren't it. Maybe we do need to just make movies. And I'm sure Loki will probably be good because it's one of the best ones of these. But like, besides Daredevil, which we'll see, I feel a little bit more confident in the film side of this because it's just easier to control. We know how to make a movie. A lot of these feel like movies that are broken up into 6 episodes, and the movie you get to make more money on. And yeah, you'll probably lose some Disney Plus subscriptions if you stop making these, but also I don't think Secret Invasion is going to get you that many Disney Plus subscriptions either. So I don't know. It's a shame that the show doesn't work as well as it should. But also, like, at the end of the day, it's fine. There's a lot of good TV on now. Well, there was a lot of good TV. I guess Succession is done. The Bear is done. But like, After Party just came back. I love that show. Recommend it up and down the street. Like, that is a fun show. And there's a lot of good stuff out there. So, Venture Brothers movie's coming out soon. Very excited about that. Yeah, and it's almost over. I can't wait to see how it ends. I'm so curious what this is building towards. So yeah, we got 1 episode left. I'm very curious how this is all gonna wrap up. But overall, it's a watchable show, but it is super messy, and you can see there's little flashes of greatness, and that makes it all the more frustrating. And we support the striking writers and actors.